Yeah, so we had a bit of technical fine-tuning here in the beginning, but I'm sure that we get that under control as we go along in the course. So the purpose of this first seminar is really organizational, in that we're all on the same page. We'll go through some logistics of the course itself, but also then of your team formation, because your teams and the innovation project that you do in your team is a very central and important part of the course. So let's start with some basics. Can you see my screen okay now, Yelena? Can you
Yes,
can you see my screen okay?
yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, and can you see my mouse move, or is there a delay?
No, it works just fine for me.
Okay, because otherwise I would have to do it very slowly.
I can see you.
Okay. All right, so let's start it. So you all should have gotten by now your password, your initial password, which is a random password. So the first thing after you log in, and let us know if you have some problems logging in, shouldn't really be the case, you will get to this screen, okay, which is the overview. So the first thing you would want to do is go to the right-hand side, where you see a button with your username, which is the lowercase of your first letter and then your last name. When you click on that, you have two choices. You can log out and you can change your password. Now, this menu is going to be available on every single course page, so you can log out or change your password from anywhere. But obviously, changing the password, you really only need to do once. So the first thing, what you should do is to change your password, which takes you to this screen. And you should change your password to something that you obviously can remember. And there is, on the right-hand side here, you see some rules for the password. So it should at least contain 8 characters and not more than 16. It should at least have one number and one letter, and only consist of numbers and letters in general. Okay, so and then you retype the password, and it'll tell you if it's not a match, or if the password is not the correct format. So I'm not going to do that now because I want to keep my password. And so when you do that, then your password is okay. Then the system logs you out, and then you log back in with your new password. Okay. So to go back, on the left-hand side, you have a menu item called Navigate, okay, that really lets you navigate the entire course. So the first item is the course overview. That always takes you back to this overview, which is, at the same time, the syllabus of the course, and we'll go through that in detail. All the items in the course are available through the left-hand menu as well, and we'll go through that in a minute. This button called Instructions, every page has an Instructions button, which has very specific instructions, to that page. Not necessarily the specifics of the particular exercise. They might be written above the exercise, but generally how it works. So if you have a question, or especially in the beginning, you might want to refer to the Instructions button. So let's do that for this page. So for this course overview page, we have two menu items, top button and course overview. Okay, so let's have a look at the course overview page. Summarizes all your scores. The bottom table lists the individual graded scores, the units with 0 to 100% score bar, as well as the corresponding weighted course scores to the left of it. The top table shows your total course score to date, as well as your cumulative exercise assignment and team innovation project scores. So let's have a look at that, what this looks like. So this is the score for your entire course. So there are 3 types of graded units. Exercises in the left column, individual assignments in the middle column, and team innovation projects on the right column. So before I go further, let me just see, check with Jelena briefly. Is that okay so far? Does anybody have any questions?
I don't see any questions on the talk so far. У кого-то
Okay, so you keep monitoring the questions and I concentrate on
Hold on
speaking,
for a
okay?
second.
And then I can...
Just, can you hold on for a second?
Yes.
Okay, Andres, you can keep going on.
Okay. All right, so so the exercises are really in the first 5 course weeks, and I'll go through them at the syllabus in detail and tell you what they're pedagogically intended to do. So there's 10 of these, and each of them is, worth 2% of the overall grade, okay? So that's what this number on the left shows you. So that adds up to 20% for the exercises. And when you have done an exercise, then your score will be shown in here. If the exercise is not released yet, it says not yet released. Those are exercises which are in the later week. So for example, basic elements exercise 1 is in the first week, in the current week, so that is released. So you should complete that one until Saturday, it's a very easy introductory one. When you finalize it, as I'll show you in a minute, you will get then the score bar here, from 0 to 100% within the exercise, and the weighted score, multiplied with a weight will show up here, and then as you go along, all the exercises as they add up, they will be shown in the cumulative exercises area here, and then the same thing for the assignments and eventually the innovation projects. Now, and the total score, will start, obviously starts at 0%, and then as you keep completing more and more, a score bar will, grow to the right along with your total score. So all the exercises are automatically graded. Now, I will show you how that works, and there is a bit of a philosophy, a pedagogical philosophy behind this. The individual the individual assignments are a mixture between some things that are automatically graded and some things that we grade manually. Manually through the system, obviously, but same as manual grading. So it'll be a combination, and the total assignment score will only be shown once everything in that assignment is graded. So an assignment, for example, technology assignment has 5 parts to it. 2 parts, we grade manually, and so on. And then, down here, there are some short essays which we grade manually, and so on. The team innovation project, all this is manually graded, and that's the later 2/3 of the course. Okay, so
Can I
Let's assuming just check with Yitla. Yeah.
interrupt you very quickly? So the question is how critical is to keep a deadline? For example, some people are asking if they don't complete the assignment by the 25th.
Okay. So um, it's really well. I, I- the system is such that these deadlines are sort of programmed in, right? And they're within the normal course flow. But I do see, when you hand it in and when you finalize something, and I can make some adjustments. So if it is that you are traveling on business or something and, you can't get a good connection on the internet or whatever, then don't worry about it too much about the last minute there, we'll be able to deal with it. The important thing, however, is that the assignments should be graded such that there is a good reason to the course flow. So the sequence and doing these things sort of especially in the first 5 weeks where most of this graded sort of assignment due stuff is that you should stick to that schedule because the pedagogical point, as I'll point out in more detail in a minute, is that it takes you through certain steps that you need to do in a certain order that prepare your thinking so you can do your project very well from the start. So you want to stick to the timeline. Don't worry about half an hour. That's the short answer. Is that satisfactory?
Ну, я думаю, что это грустно. I'm sorry, Andres. Ну, в общем, идея заключается в том, что постарайтесь все-таки делать в те дни, когда есть дедлайн. Если у вас совсем не получается, тогда напишите, будем на case-by-case basis решать этот вопрос.
But there is something that I should say. There is one thing that I should say here, which is, there's quite a lot of you, and for our side, we need to deal with that in a coordinated fashion. So if a lot of people just, don't stick to the timeline, then that becomes a nightmare on our side. Is that clear?
Yeah, that's clear. That's
Okay. So, but the course is designed to be accommodating for a professional life.
okay. By the way, we just thanks to Ilya Borishev, we just discovered how to unmute people. You need to raise your hand, and then I can unmute you.
Oh, perfect. So actually, like, I don't have the echo anymore. So Yelena, you take care of this. I can hear you all at all times. You just interrupt me when there are questions. Okay?
Okay, yeah. The question is, can we change a deadline from Saturday to Sunday?
Um, that's a bit difficult in the sense that, like, the whole course, there is the whole timing of the course is actually, programmed sort of into the core of it. Let me make a note of this. Is that something that everybody would want?
Well, I think it would make sense for people in sense. I mean, on the Saturdays they can work. I mean, they work during the week. So the answer is no. It was a random question, but I think it's a good idea for them.
Okay, so let me make a note of that. Okay, I look into that from a technical point of view because there's some things associated with that technically. Okay. Uh, so this is not just the because the due dates are linked to the course weeks, right? So we need to shift the course week by a day. So like on the left-hand side, you see the course week. Like for example, week 2 is from the 26th to the 1st of August. That would then become from the 27th of July to the 2nd. Because the way this system works is, the the weeks and due dates are aligned with the course weeks. Okay, so the due date. Well, actually, I'll make a note of, like, there's something I want to make sure I say about the due date for the course project. Okay. But I'll do that when I talk about the project. Okay. So let's have a look at the details now. The course overview page is at the same time also your syllabus, right? So you can actually look ahead and see all the modules that are going to be covered and in what kind of weeks. So on the left-hand side, I'm having some feedback.
You should be fine now.
Left-hand side, you have lectures and exercises. The exercises are only in week 1 through 5. Okay, so those are exercises that are interdispersed with the lectures. And the point here is to pedagogically, give you a certain idea, way of thinking in the lecture first, and then for you to actually practice that before you go on.
People are not clear where they can see lectures.
Where what?
Where they can see video lectures. They are not clear.
Okay, so you can see, so in the first week, okay, the first item here is introduction and definition. If I move the mouse over it, it highlights in dark blue. Right? You can see this is lecture 1 of the topic introduction and definition. If I click on this, it will take me to the first lecture. On the left upper hand button, I have the instructions again, which show me the instructions for the lecture. For the top menu, it doesn't cover these left menu items and the right menu item with the account, because that's common to all pages. That is described in the course overview page. The top menu items for each page are described. They describe the ones that are specific to the page. So here we have a playback rate and the transcript, and I'll go back to that in a minute. And then if we show the instructions here for the video player, it tells you about the video player, that are the controls that are native to the video player bar, and then some additional ones that we added. Okay, so let's go through these. So this is the first lecture. So on the left-hand side, you have the play button, and then you have the status bar. You see the closed captioning is displayed on the bottom here. Then you see how many seconds you have watched. This is the volume control, mute, unmute, and to the right of that you have the volume. And now these two buttons are, this is the closed caption control. You can turn the closed captions off by clicking CC, and it can turn the closed captions back on again by clicking CC. This square box to the right allows you to view the video in a full screen mode, like so. Okay? You can either click this again or exit full screen mode on the top.
Andreas, the next question is, people are asking when we will hold seminars. It's not clear from the syllabus. I mean, the timing will be the same. It will be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Moscow. But the date, explain people where they can find dates.
That is not incorporated in the syllabus. That's on the other syllabus that we sent. I don't know if everybody received that. You know, like the syllabus that we did in the PDF syllabus, Yelena? Yes,
I did send that one. But
okay.
Is there any way to incorporate, or should we do it in?
Well, we can make another. So I'm not going to incorporate it into the programmatic aspect, but we'll make another document to make sure that's clear. Okay?
Yes.
Right? We'll share another document with everybody, because the syllabus is not just, you know, like there's a whole lot of functionality behind that, and obviously the seminars are just specific events.
Okay, another thing is that I actually was not aware of that as well, that you can actually download the lectures.
You could, yeah. I mean, you can always download all the lectures. You know, any video you can download. You know, if it plays in your browser, you can always download. You know, files. That's how the internet works, basically. You have to do a lot to prevent that.
Okay.
I mean, there's not really a way to, you know, even YouTube, you can download anything from YouTube.
Okay, some people don't hear you. Hold on for a second.
Okay.
Okay, go on. It looks like it's just one local problem.
Okay. So, so in addition to these normal video buttons, we have added something here on the bottom, which allows you to see in the orange bar how much you have watched. So, for example, if I now move to somewhere in the middle of the video and I play again, then you see the yellow bar follows that. Okay? So if I now leave the video and I go back, now you see, like, from white it has turned orange. That indicates that you have started this unit, but you haven't finished it yet. Now if I go back, the video position is where you left it, and the orange bar corresponds to the parts of the video that you have watched. Once you have watched the entire video, the bottom bar turns green, which indicates that you have finished watching the video. And you know, this is when the unit also in your overview turns green. So this means you can keep easily track of what you have done and what you haven't done. So in the videos, like here, for example, this one I finished watching, the bar is green. Okay. Now, going back to the first video, on the top you have the playback rate and you have transcripts. Playback rate, you have 5 options: 0.8, 0.1, 1.1, sorry, 1, 1.2, 1.5, and 2.0. So it depends a little bit on, you know, how good your English is and so on. So when you watch the video for the first time, as long as your bar on the bottom here shows up in orange, you can adjust the video playback rate between 0.8, 1, and 1.2. This is intended for improving your comfort of listening. So for some people, Gene talks a little slowly, so they like to watch it at 1.2. For some people whose English is a little, you know, less fluid, and, you know, who would like to watch it a little slower, they can use 0.8, for example. 1.5 and 2 are not possible to use until you have watched the video for the first time in full. The reason is that we know from experience that if you watch it at 1.5 or 2 times the speed, although you might physically hear it, what Gene says or what I say, you know, in the lectures, but you certainly do not have enough time to think through it properly. Okay? But these speeds are useful once you've watched the video and you've understood all the points and you want to go back to them, then they're useful for reviewing and finding the right kind of position, right? So until you have watched the video for the first time, you can see it says will be enabled after video has been fully watched. So if we now go back to a video that I have watched fully, like this one, then these are enabled, okay? And I can click on 1.5 the speed, and here on the bottom right-hand corner it tells me the playback rate is 1.5, right? So it sounds like you can listen to it, but if you actually try to think through it, it's pretty hard. You only retain a fraction of what is actually being said. On the right-hand side, you have transcripts. Those are PDF versions of transcripts, and we're just talking to the guys at ITMO that we can incorporate the Russian version of this. At the moment, we have just the English version, which is in two formats. One is A4, which is I know you want. The other one's US letter, which is really only applicable here. So if you click on that, then a new window opens with the transcript. So you can then, in the normal, especially in Google Chrome, you can use your normal controls, to print it or save it or, zoom in or whatever you want to do. Okay, so this is in a new window. And then, if you want the US letter format, I'm not sure why you would want that in Russia, but because I think all have A4 format like everybody else in the world, then, you can use that too. Okay, so that's really the lectures. Any questions about that? Yelena?
Mute myself for the better sound. No, I don't see any questions so far.
Okay, good. So now let's continue with the navigation. So let's go to the next unit. So there is something called a reflection. That's actually the only one here, which is, in this case, you actually record, we ask you to think about something, in this case a definition of innovation, that there is a pedagogical reason for this. We want you to make this explicit, what you're thinking now, so that when we start to actually go through the definition and start to build up the real innovation model, that you actually have a record of your initial innovation thoughts, okay? Or your definition. I can't spell apparently. Okay, so you see, like, as I type here, it also appears here. And in this case, because it's just a reflection, you can really only save it once, okay? Just, so it asks you, do you want to save it now? This one's not graded. It's really just for you, but we're going to look at this and we're going to read it with a lot of interest and see, because you all come from different backgrounds, it's going to be interesting to see, your initial definitions. So let's say I save this now. It tells you, that saving is in progress. And now it's been saved, so the input box you see is gone, but your answer is recorded there, so you can go back to it later. Now if I click save again, it tells me that it's disabled. So this is something that the system always guides you to do. Now, in this case, if we go back to course overview, now you can see I have completed this unit and it's green. Okay. Before we go on to the exercises, let me talk now a bit more about the left-hand button. The navigation button. So this is where you can, from any page, also access any unit. Okay, and these are organized by topics. So the broad categories are lectures, exercises, assignments, and your team innovation project. So for the lectures, there are organized by topic. So in the first lecture, in the first week here, you can see we have two topics. We have introduction and definition and the three basic elements. So these are these two different topics here. Okay. So you can see then in this submenu that you have 3 lectures in introduction and definition. The first one 4 minutes and 6 minutes and 6 minutes. And as in the overview, you can see the status. I have started watching lecture 1, I have started watching lecture 3, but now I have finished watching lecture 2. If you haven't watched it, again, there is no, if you haven't started, there is no color coding. Now, if a week is not released yet, like we're in the first week, the second week is not released yet, it will tell you that that week is not released. So on Saturday night, or actually Sunday night, if I can change that, let me look at that, then this next week will be released. And as you go on, these weeks will become available. Okay. The same thing with the exercises. So you see that the exercises, we have 6 topics, 5 weeks. So I've completed reflection 1, which is sort of an exercise, and but not, I haven't been to exercise number 1 yet of 3 basic elements. And then again, these weeks are not released, but you can look ahead here to see what's coming. So let's go now to the exercise 1. A lot of the exercises are drag drop exercises. And this, I really want to emphasize, is these are not about right and wrong answers. These are about your thinking about the topics that we have to have introduced. And I'll in a minute, I'll talk to you a little bit about the pedagogy behind it and why this is important and very different from other teaching in universities, because innovation is much more about how you think than any specific answer. Any specific answer is not so relevant. It's how you think that is important, and that is inherently more difficult to incorporate in in exercises. So the way, I'm not going to solve this for you, obviously, but it's not about solving things. It's about doing a bit of hands-on activity while you're thinking through things. So all these drag-drop exercises work such that you click on the element, you drag it onto wherever you think it's supposed to go. When you go over it, it changes colors a little bit, so make sure that you're in the that's where you should drop it. So if I put accounting here, okay, then it goes there and turns blue. And then you have and you do that with sort of all the other ones. So you have 3 buttons on here, on top here. One is to save it, right? That you can do at any time before you have finalized the exercise. All that really does is that, when you go back to it, it is saved and you can, continue. So as long as this is not evaluated, this shows up in blue, okay? And you can still move it to anywhere else. If you move it not on a box, but anywhere else, it goes back to its original position. Submit is when you have all the answers completed and you submit them to the system, okay? And you have to have all of them completed. If you haven't all of them completed, it'll tell you so, like in this alert menu now. So submit is not the same as grading. So what the system does is it checks your answers and gives you feedback. So we'll go through that in a minute. But I want to show you one other feature first. Let's suppose I have put something in here, right? And I navigate away from it. So by the way, another thing is that here are the previous and next buttons. Okay, that's another help for navigation. So you can always go to the previous unit. Like for example, this is exercise 1 beforehand is the lecture of the 3 basic elements. So if I go to previous, it would go there. However, I have unsaved changes. So it actually checks before you navigate away from the page whether you have forgotten to change to save your answers, and it will ask you whether you want to stay on the page or leave the page. So in this case, say like, oh yeah, I forgot to save my answers. I better save them. So I save them, right? And then I go to previous, and I go to the previous lecture.
And
And if I go back, then my saved state appears again. Yes.
so the question was, I think you answered it already, but still, if the save button is being disabled after all exercises are saved, I guess.
No, I will show you when it becomes disabled. Okay, I'll demonstrate that now. So
We should just
um,
a little bit faster pace, though, I think.
yes, okay. So now let's suppose I just randomly fill all this in. Okay. Okay, so now I can submit it, right? So if I click the submit button, what it does, it tells me, you see that color has changed, okay? It tells me what we think is right and what is wrong, okay? If it's green, in this case, then you can't move it anymore because it's already correct, right? If it's red, then you can change, what it is that you're thinking. So for example, if I change these two, then they turn blue again until I submit the next time. So you can actually, and this is an important point, you can repeat this as many times as you want until you get it right. Again, the pedagogical point is not to get, for these exercises, is not to you think about it, you do your answer, you think like, okay, well, and we give you the feedback saying like, well, we don't think so. We think this should be somewhere else, or this should be in a different context, so the answer is different. And then you think about it and go, okay, well, yeah, I can see why that could be the case. And it's a matter of, your reasoning. That's the most important thing. Okay, you're thinking through the reasoning, you changing, your mind, and that is much, much, much more important than getting anything right. So that's why these are for you to engage in this and to engage your thinking. And you can do this as many times before the deadline, roughly the deadline, as you want, okay? If you click on the score button, it always tells you, what your current score would be. And so I still haven't finalized it. So if I go back to the course overview now, for example, I actually haven't saved something. So let me save this. And I go back to the course orange, okay? So going back to this, if I now finalize it, it asks me, do I want to submit what I finalize what I last submitted, or like that's the bottom, and the next one is, or do I want to submit what I currently have on the page and finalize it? I'm not going to do that now. Once you do that, okay, then the unit turns, or okay, I guess I can do it. So I submit and finalize this. It asks me whether I'm sure, so I'm finalizing it. And now the save button, oops, I can't click that anymore because it's finalized. Okay, I can't, and I can't submit it anymore. It's disabled, right? The score is locked in, and the finalizing is disabled. And now when I click the solution button, it'll show me the solution. I will not do that right now. And now you can see I have finished this module, and even here, in this navigation, I have finished that. Okay, so that is the basic navigation. It becomes more complex as we go on, and especially with respect to the assignments. So the assignments are in this column. When you click on the assignment, this is not released yet, so if you mouse over these not released parts, it doesn't change the color, whereas if you mouse over the released parts, it changes color. The technology, market application, implementation, these assignments in this column, okay, when you click on those, it'll take you to another page, similar setup, but each of these assignments has more than one part to it, and it's all explained, okay? Any questions so far? And then we go through all the contents and the project. Yelena, any questions? I can't hear you. You have muted your microphone, I think. Hello?
No questions. Nothing that it's pretty clear. So
Okay.
I think we should just keep
Okay,
going a
good.
bit faster, but
Yeah.
fast pace.
Now we,
I think people got the point.
yes. I just wanted to make sure that everybody, is clear on the basics. And once the basics are, then it'll go smoothly from there. Okay, so now innovation. How do you teach innovation? Well, I kind of like to say that you can't really teach it like other things. You can mentor it, and that's why the project is very important. Okay, you have to experience doing innovation yourself. And it's not like teaching stuff, like teaching how to solve an equation or things like that. Okay, innovation is a way of thinking and a way of perceiving the world. So the way the pedagogic works, going through the rest of this, is that the first 4 to 5 weeks, okay, give you the basics of the innovation model, the human process of innovating, and it actually sort of up to sort of week 7, this is when you do more innovations. More iterations. So this first part sets you up, for the thinking and the and the and the um, uh, the thinking, and and it lets you practice with these exercises and these assignments, step by step towards that. And these assignments, they can contain certain research tasks that get you started of the kind of research that you need to be doing on your project. Then starting here on the lecture side, we will go into current forms, and and actually also very importantly historical examples that show you the complexity of which, when you do this for real. And fundamental innovation, the one that really brings economic growth, takes a long time. So we actually show you 3 examples that we have studied in great detail, spanning 550 years here. Okay, and one, the fundamental strain silicon one, is that Professor Fitzgerald has done himself, which is the basis of every modern computer processor, Intel processor since 2004. And then in the end, we go through some aspects about the ecosystems, teams, and organizations, and the modern American innovation system and how that evolved. Now, so at this point of week 6, about week 5, you're really starting to seriously get into your project. Okay, so all your work will concentrate on your project. Okay, we're going to have 2 assignments here in week 10 and week 13. These are on some of those fundamental innovations, because these innovations took 20 years, and we obviously do not have 20 years in this course to go through the details, but they are designed to actually make you feel this, what that takes, and bring that really, really close to you. So let's talk about, let's take one step back maybe for a moment and talk about why the way of thinking is so critical for innovation. And Jean will talk to you about this on Monday also. But then there's various ways of starting to approach this. So let me try it one way. Let me ask and Yelena, you can give me one of the other question answer there maybe. Let me ask the students maybe what do you think is not metaphysical or philosophical stuff, but but very practically, what is the thing that makes us humans, sets us humans apart from from other living beings more than anything, very practically speaking?
Okay, so can you repeat the question? And then
Yeah. So the question is, human beings as compared to other living creatures on the planet, okay, animals, whatever, right? What sets us apart? Not the metaphysical things and not language. I know that certainly is one of them. But I mean, but very practically speaking, in the context of innovation, what makes us different? What do we do that most animals, or if so, only in very, very, very primitive ways, don't do? What do our lives depend
I
on?
have a bunch of answers here, starting with dreaming,
Yes.
consciousness, ability to imagine, laziness, ability to control emotions, creative thinking, ability to analyze and make things out, ability to self-develop, analytical abilities, ability to build logical connections,
Okay.
ability to create, ability to develop. Okay, guys, I think
Okay,
at
good.
this point
So
we can
okay,
use
good.
technology, yeah,
Yeah. So okay. So
create new lives,
all,
thinking, yeah.
yeah. So all these things are good. Okay. Uh, but there is a very, very simple one uh, that is important in this context. And some of them go in that direction of getting there, but it's tools. We are fundamentally tool users. There is not 1 second that we spend in our lives that we do not use tools. Whether I type something in, like onto the keyboard, like answering this question, or whether it's the chair that I sit on, or whether it's the clothes that I wear, everything that we do, we cannot survive without tools. We don't have any fur anymore. We don't, none of these things. Like if it's even just using fire, okay? Even if it is, an innovation that was created 10,000 years ago, okay? There's still tools that we depend on and that we use every single day, and we cannot function without them. So that's really what allows us, to sort of beat the timescale of evolution, right? We don't have to genetically change in order to adapt to new environments. We make tools. When the weather got colder, and let's say during the last ice age, and instead of genetically mutating and growing more hair, we figured out how to put a sharp rock on a stick, and we say, like, look, there is that mammoth over there. He has a nice furry coat. Let's have it off him. Okay? So tools is really very, 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 very characteristic. And innovation, in a way, in an essence, is the creation of new tools that did not exist anymore and that are useful. Now, let me ask you a second question. How do we use tools? What does tool using imply?
Skills.
Yes, how do you get, but very fundamentally, so skills, so you've got to learn something, right? What do you have to learn?
Solving problems.
Uh, Now there is something, if you want to use a tool efficiently.
Learning from others how to use it.
Exactly. So, I mean, yes, but there is something even more profound. Um,
Knowledge.
which is, yeah, but so good. Um,
Rules.
let me, yeah, okay, rules is not bad. Yes.
Muscles. Okay, people are
No.
flying around. That's fine.
Okay, so let me talk about this for a moment. So there is something very inherent in this, okay? Which the way, yes, you have to learn it and you have to acquire knowledge and all that, okay? But what does it fundamentally comprise? It fundamentally comprises a linear connection between cause and effect, okay? So if I want to use a tool well, then I do something with it and the same thing happens again and again, right? So, and we don't even think about it every day. When I turn on the shower in the morning, I expect water to come out, right? I've done it many times, I've learned that if I, you know, generate the cause of turning the knob, then the effect of water coming out will happen, okay? If I set the alarm clock at night, then, you know, I automatically expect it to go off in the morning because I've learned how to use that tool. I've given it the cause and the, you know, and I expect the effect because I learned that linear connection, okay? So in order to be efficient in a world that is dominated by tools, naturally our thinking, our way of being and learning is connecting cause and effect. And we do this all the time. There's no human that can escape that. Otherwise, you can't really function. Now, the important thing is that, you know, the tools, to use them efficiently requires, you know, and the more, you know, if you like, uh, there are certain specializations, like, you know, an accountant uses, you know, the tools of accountancy very efficiently. A lawyer uses the tools of law very efficiently, okay? And the better they do so, and then the more complex of a fashion they do so, the better they are. But you can always break it down into sort of bits and pieces of linear, you know, if-then situations. And that's also how we teach, right? So for example, if we teach how oxygen works, okay, in chemistry, right? We tell you, well, it has 6 valence electrons and this, that, the other, okay, and, you know, we, you know, teach you how the chemistry involving oxygen works. Now, if you look in history, how oxygen was discovered, it is a mess. If you look at the real historical records, you go into the archives and you try to do that, okay, what a mess, okay? You can't even figure out really who did what, okay? And there were all sorts of blind alleys. And, but to repeat that, which took years, okay, when we teach chemistry today to students, that would be a bit of a waste of time because we have figured out how it works. We have figured out if, you know, if I do this, then that happens. That's how oxygen works in chemistry, okay? But it's not how it was figured out in the first place, not at all. And as a matter of fact, it is true that if you want to create a new tool that doesn't exist, you don't know this cause and relationship. You don't even know if it exists. So this linear thinking of cause and effect doesn't really work. And now all economic growth, you know, globally, all further development of us, you know, if you like, is, you know, creating more and better tools, whether it's, a construction machine or whether it's, a new way of doing the internet, or whether it's, it's a wonderful new consumer product, okay, or the iPod or the iPad or whatever, okay? It doesn't matter, okay? But it's still new tools that eventually, that don't exist yet, that have to prove to have this kind of relationship so that other people can actually learn it and use it efficiently. But we don't know those relationships because we don't know whether the tool exists and how it could possibly work. So the thinking, that's what I'm trying to get to fundamentally, is the thinking that you need to think like an innovator is kind of nearly the opposite sometimes than the thinking that you need as, just going through normal life and being efficient and using tools. And a good word for that is creativity, but there's other things involved. Okay, so nature doesn't really work in cause and effect. Genetics doesn't work in cause and effect. There's lots and lots and lots of probability involved. And so in innovation in the same way, okay, there is lots of uncertainty involved. Okay, in dealing with this uncertainty in a constructive, efficient way to arrive at something that could possibly work, okay, before you have spent so much money and time that it isn't worth it anymore. That's the process that we're teaching you. And that requires a different type of thinking that is different from the way you usually study things or we usually teach you things in universities. It is different from the things that you use in your job, that you have learned something and you do the same thing, but you do it excellently, I'm sure, but you know how to do it. Here you don't know. And so the first part of the course is, again, it's not about right or wrong answers. It's about very efficiently, the pedagogy is geared towards, you opening up this space for you. And in the 3 dimensions, technology, market, and implementation, which we'll define very comprehensively, because, with the definition of this model, literally everything, every tool that humankind ever created can be expressed in that way, because it's a fundamentally human process. It's the human process of innovating, and you don't need a million, or say 90% innovators, that probably would not make the, humanity function very well. But you need a fair amount, okay? And we don't have, that's why we have economic growth problems. It's because we're not very good at this at the moment. And these paradigms that guided us towards it, especially the last one, the PCIT, what we call the IC, integrated circuit, PC, personal computer, IT, into information technology paradigm. That was such a big innovation paradigm that lasted 50 years about, okay, that lots and lots of people kind of knew what they would be doing, okay. Now we don't have such a big guiding theme anymore, and we will cover that also then when we go into the later part on the lecture side of the course. But it is important so there is a process in the beginning of this where you need to open up your thinking a bit, get out of, some of the boxes that you have been in, get to grips a little bit with other aspects, depending on your background, that you may not have been so familiar with, okay? You might know your quantum mechanics very well, but you need psychology too, okay? You might know your your design rules for a new product very well, but you don't know enough about the actual economics of production, okay? Of how it's made and how the machines work that make it, okay? And so on and so forth. So the first couple of weeks are an expansion in dimensions, in the dimension of what you need to think about, but they're also, and that's very important, an expansion of your mind in uncertainty and how to start to deal with that. Any questions about that?
No, I think we should move on to teamwork, to be frank.
And we provide you with okay. So so the real time then to experience this is on your own innovative ideas. Okay, so we will provide you, this is on the right-hand side, with tools, interactive tools, for the composition of your projects. Okay, within this framework that we established, within this model, which represents the human process of innovating. Okay, we will provide you with tools to actually organize not just your ideas, because it's not just about ideas, but it's about real high-quality research. And it's going to be research in areas that you have never really looked into. And it's about figuring out how to do this, right? And it's about not ignoring the elephant in the room just because it doesn't happen to be in your field or training. Okay, you need to look at these things very comprehensively, and as a matter of fact, it's a comprehensive system of risk management. Okay, like how do you reduce uncertainty over time? And it is a system of highly efficient learning across all the disciplines that you need for your innovative idea. Because nobody can tell me that they actually know everything there is to know about their innovative idea. Because if they did, okay, they might have opinions, but opinions are really, really, really bad, okay, in this. Opinions are, I mean, you can have, so just to be clear, okay, hypotheses are good, okay? You go like, well, I think this might work, or I think it is this way, okay? But then you go and do the real research and really figure out what's going on and why it is like this, or what the parameters are and what the cost is and how it is made and so on and so forth. And then you confirm or not confirm your hypothesis, okay? And upon that, you change your thinking and so on and so forth. So there's a whole process behind this, and we use software to help you along with that process and coordinate your team in that. So the actual innovative idea doesn't matter. Okay, it should be something that you are excited about, but you have to make a bit of a compromise in your team too. You don't want to have something that somebody is like super excited about and the other one, like one person like totally doesn't like at all. Okay, so
you need to make
you
it.
need to come up, and we'll go through the process of getting there.
Yeah, I think you need to. The way you make it sound from the beginning was if everyone is gonna work on their own innovative idea, please do make it clear that people need to come
Yes.
up with a team idea.
So
So
the process is
there will be a selection process and then the one idea on which the team will work at the end. So just make it clear.
yes. So you will be emailed today or tomorrow. Yelena will email you the initial composition of your team based on your previously expressed areas of interest. Okay, there can be some changes if you like. So, and you all have ideas. So within that team, you have to come up with 3 ideas that you think might be worthwhile to pursue. Okay, starting with the release of the next week. So I guess given your preference, Sunday, okay, or after Sunday, so Monday, right? In this part, if you can see my cursor here where it says idea compilation and selection, there will be a part where you can edit these 3 ideas in a few short paragraphs. Okay, and it'll be such that only a person at a time can edit it. So if you are in an edit mode, if you're editing one idea, the others can't edit that, but as soon as you're done editing that, others could edit it. Okay, so you can dynamically do this, but you have to communicate about what 3 ideas you're going to choose. You have to do that offline, and you should start doing that as soon as you have your team. Okay, you should use any kind of communication that you're happy with, Skype or telephone or Meet or whatever, and really form a team. You have to work together. Okay, so you have to come to an agreement, and so it just has to be a good idea. Okay, so it's not so important what the idea actually is, but it should be an idea that works well for the course and the teaching. So let me just make a comment on that, and that's important. And that's where we help you then with the selection of those 3 ideas. We have a lot of experience of what ideas will work, not what ideas will work well, but what areas might be difficult. And I'll give you an example. Now, what we never do in this course is we never judge your idea. Because who are we to judge it? We cannot possibly judge it unless we do all the innovation process on your work, on your idea ourselves, right? That would be an opinion. If we don't do the detailed research, okay, in order to that you will be going through, okay, well, we cannot have an opinion about that, Okay, that is the point of the innovation process. The innovation process tells you whether it's a good idea or not. Okay, and the idea changes because it always turns out that what you think initially isn't true. Okay, and it isn't true in one area, and then you find out, oh, it's too expensive, it can't be made like that, oh, the physics doesn't work like this, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you find out lots of things, and your idea will change as you go along. Okay, it may change completely. Okay, it's not about totally coming up with a new idea. It'll change naturally as you evolve, and as you learn more and more and more in your efficient research about your idea within the innovation process. So, but one thing that is important is that that it has enough uncertainty. Okay, but it should also be somewhat manageable within your team in the course. So we have these three areas: technology, market, and implementation. And again, if you go now through the three basic elements, the lectures of the first week, you will know what they're fundamentally about, in the exercise that I've just shown you. So what is important for your idea, so that's why you should do that now and not wait until the beginning of next week to do this. What is important is that you have enough uncertainty in each of those areas, because you need uncertainty, we deliberately use the word uncertainty, because on one side, uncertainty is risk. If you don't know, it might go wrong. On the other side, uncertainty is opportunity. You don't know, but it might turn out just fantastic, right? But we're not even talking about the overall thing. We're talking about every single aspect, right? You might not know how you could manufacture this, because maybe it's never been manufactured before, or maybe it's because you need to manufacture it in an industry that you just happen to not know about. Okay, it might be easy, it might be difficult, you don't know. So there's a risk and there is an opportunity. If you don't have opportunity, you can't innovate. And it is important to have opportunity and certainty, and in all of those three areas. So let me give you an example of something that doesn't have enough uncertainty. Like, for example, an app, just an app, that whatever. Now, sometimes there are apps that can make a lot of money, but that's not necessarily. But I can start a lot of pizza stores very efficiently and can make a lot of money that way too. Okay, as you'll see in the definition, okay, and how the whole process, that's not that criterion of looking at innovation. But it has to be profitable in the end, of course. Okay, but but that's not how you measure this, how big or not big an innovation is. It's more complex than that. But but so, for example, if I have an app, okay, then my technology uncertainty is pretty low, okay, because as long as I know how to program, I mean, well, I can do it. I just do it, in a couple of hours, okay, a couple of days maybe, right? Yeah, there's a bit of design aspect and so on, Market, yes, you have some uncertainty, but again, you don't really need to go through a laborious process because it costs you so little. You just program it, you throw it up on the iTunes store or somewhere or wherever, and if people get it, fine. If they don't, whatever, it didn't cost you very much. Implementation, there isn't a lot of uncertainty either. This is one of those things that we did a very bad job overall over the last 20 years of trying to make people think that those things are, real. I mean, innovation. There are innovations, but they're incremental innovations. They're very small innovations. They're obvious. If you don't do them, somebody else will do them. Okay, very quickly. So on the other side, you should not necessarily take something that up front requires so much specialized. It's not about specialized knowledge. You can always get specialized knowledge. So don't shy away from, I don't know, corrosion in the oil industry, absolutely, okay? Develop a new process of killing listeria in low temperature processed food, absolutely, okay? All this stuff is fantastic. One thing that may not be able, so it can be very complex, okay? And we've had wonderful projects, on those sort of scales, over the years. But you want something that you can kind of think you can get to grips with within the time that we have. So for example, if you say, oh, it's a great idea to switch the power grid, okay, from AC, alternating current, to DC, direct current, yes, that may be a good idea. And as a matter of fact, Edison and Westinghouse, 130 years ago, argued this. Edison won, unfortunately, because DC actually is better. And there is stuff happening in that area, okay? But if you want to figure out, and we want to see how much things really cost, okay? If you don't even understand the economics of like a single power station quite yet, okay? Then, or even like the turbine, then this might be a little bit difficult to really, come to handle, to come to grips with. So in this case, it might be a good idea, but you want to make it such that you can scale it down a little bit, because in the entire power grid, okay, you can say, well, what is the real problem here, okay? So if you say, oh, with the renewable energies, we want to look at liquid salt energy storage systems, okay? Well, that's more manageable. Does that make sense? Have you any questions about that?
У кого-то есть вопросы? I think to summarize it would be, it cannot be linear because it's obvious, but it could not be too complicated, right?
Well, it can be complicated. It can be as complicated as you want it, because you don't have to arrive at an answer at the end, okay? Because it may take 5 years, okay? That's fine, okay? It's the process. But it should not be so big, okay, that you cannot really, so anything that is has some specificity to it should be fine, okay? But sometimes people come up with these, sort of wishful thinking sort of ideas. Oh, like solving the carbon emission problem. Well, that's not specific enough. You know what I mean? There's 100 good projects you could do within that realm, okay? But it's just not specific enough. You see what I mean?
Окей, коллеги, и вы как бы слышите, что он говорит, у вас есть конкретные вопросы по работе в командах и выборе проектов? No, everybody says everything is clear.
Okay, so, and that, so it's fine, like that's why we have the idea selection. So you take some time to coordinate it with a team, you record them in the system as a team, and then we take time with you, the individual teams, and we discuss them. And we basically, because once we have your ideas and you've written a couple of paragraphs about it, it's a lot easier for us to say, okay, that sounds good, or that sounds good. Not because we think it does. That doesn't matter, okay? What we look at it with all of our experience is, do we see a good path for you to get the learning, to maximize? Our job is to maximize your learning.
Okay, so okay. Andres, there are a couple of questions. First
Yes.
one is going to be, are they going to have a team leader? And if so, how they will choose him or her?
Well,
I think it's up to, I think it's up to a team. You don't, if
yes.
within the team you feel, this is your course. It's not up for us to decide how you want to run it within a team.
Exactly. If you get problems with the team, we can, help you somewhat, okay? But really, the team management is a sub part of this.
So basically what we recommend, we'll send you the details, we assign you teams based on your area of interest, unless you had a specific project and came in as a team. We have such examples as well. We had a team from Novosibirsk that came in with one project, they're gonna work on it as a team. But if you didn't come in it as a team, we assign you a team based on your area of interest, and we recommend you within the next day or so to get together on Skype, list all ideas you have within your team, and then decide which 3 you're going to present to us next week. And on next Monday, you can basically submit them in a software. I think that's our recommendation. If you want to do it other way, you can do it other way. It's we just we recommend based on what worked in the past.
Your team management will be an important
Uh-huh.
experience for you guys because it's not just the normal sort of like management type, business school type team management. No, you need to share highly complex thinking and learning within areas that you don't know about. Okay, and that's always a bit uncomfortable. There is a psychological dimension to this. Okay. And you have to develop, get to know each other and develop a little bit of trust in each other's abilities. Okay, so that's why, like, even in corporations, we talk to we work with the leaders of corporations all the time, very large corporations all over the globe. Okay, getting this to work in a linear world in a team is very, very, very difficult. Okay, because all organizations, all companies, all of society, okay, is organized by and through and with tool users. And in that, you have to, create your little, tool maker subspace, okay, where the tool user rules don't apply.
So we have a bunch of questions which I
That,
think are important from organizational perspective. It looks like people are still not
yes.
clear about the deadline. And teams. Andreas, can I switch to Russian for a second?
Yes.
Значит, то, что касается команд, мы рассылали всем, к какой команде мы их прикрепили. Если кто-то не получил прикрепление к команде, пожалуйста, напишите мне на адрес елена@slon.mit.edu или Игорю Куприенко из ЭТМО. Я сейчас скину данные всем, чтобы все видели, кому, если вы еще не прикреплены к команде, потому что эту информацию вы должны были получить вчера. Значит, то, что касается отбора идей. Значит, в понедельник мы просим вас, к понедельнику или вторнику, прислать нам 3 идеи, которые вы презентуете от команды. В среду у нас с каждой командой будет индивидуальная сессия, на которой мы решим, над какой идеей команда будет работать. Значит, дальше вопрос, есть ли группа на Фейсбуке. Группа на Фейсбуке есть, мы разошлем информацию о ней, может быть, мы сделаем специальную группу для этого курса. Имейлы команды можно получить, и мы вам дадим все контакты, если вы их еще не получали. Мы сегодня убедимся, что все командные данные вы получили. Вот. Ну, примерно вот так. Если у вас еще есть вопросы, потом давайте сейчас мы дадим Андреасу поговорить, и потом можно задать их мне. Andreas, I'm done in Russian.
Okay. So in terms of the team deadlines, okay? So once you really start working on your project, you do this in a very, specific, software module, okay? That allows you all to work together on this, okay? You have to communicate still, on the side, but you can all work together, okay? And this is a continuous process, right? So the system will facilitate, for you to record all your thinking at any given time, to, add references automatically. You'll end up with like hundreds of references probably, hopefully, okay? From scientific references to, data about how similar companies operate in this industry, to maybe you do your own market survey, okay, all sorts of things. You can all this can be all that will be recorded very efficiently, okay, and in detail in that system that you can all work together on. And you'll see when we get to that, you know, we can go through these details. It'd be a bit much at the moment. But so, and you will continuously use that system, which is built on the innovation process, and guides you to keep editing your innovation, starting from, let's say, week so week 5, okay, where it says work and project module, all the way to the end of the course. Okay, you continuously work in that. When something, so if you look on the, so you start with the, so let me go through this step by step. So next week until Monday, you compile the ideas, the 3 ideas, and we select them. In the following week, week 3, you use a similar module to edit one executive summary of the idea that you have chosen, right? Sort of like an executive summary initially, okay, as if you were to, you know, summarize that if you had to explain it to somebody. Then this one, you don't really work in the software yet in week 4, but you prepare with your team. Now, at that point, you will know from these lectures and exercises and assignments what you need to do with respect to what we call composing the MIT universe. It's market implementation technology. It's just a coincidence that it is also MIT. Nice coincidence. Didn't actually occur to us until like 2 years or 3 years after we we developed the model. Okay, so and then in week 5 you start to work in this module. Okay. At the end of week 6, right? We will access the data in this module wherever it is. There will not be a submission date per se. At the end of week 6, we will look at the data as you will have entered it by then. Okay? It's a continuous thing because the innovation process is not something where you answer questions and then that is it. No, you continuously work on it and you continuously change on it. So it would be unfair to the innovation process to impose artificial deadlines. So it's very that's why it's very difficult to fit it into the university system with all its necessity for gradings and so on and so forth. So what we do here is we basically it's like making a copy, okay, at a given point in time. You keep working on it, and we look off what we have done at that point, and we'll assign a team grade based on that. Then in week 7, based on that status, you will prepare a presentation, and we will meet in St. Petersburg, and you will all, as a team, present to us, and we will give you feedback and sort of further guidance. And what about this? What about that? And so on and so forth. Okay. And then we have workshops and so on in St. Petersburg. And then you do the next iteration. It'll become clear throughout the course what that means. That's where you would do in-depth research. You have to choose a couple of things that you go really deep into and really do in-depth, high-quality research on very important parts that have emerged by that point. And again, when we say, so you keep working on this, and at week 10, when it says finish in project module, at the end of that week, again, we basically sort of take a copy for evaluation, okay? And the following week you present again. This will be in an online format, and we give you feedback again. And then starting week 12, we're going to do, that's the next iteration. And again, at the end of week 14, we do the evaluation and presentation in week 15. Any questions about that?
We have questions about it, but it looks like people are still very not clear with what do you mean by idea? And okay, can you just give a couple of examples of ideas? I think so you had in the past.
Okay. Let's see. A couple of ideas. Let's take a couple from a couple of different places. For example, there was, let me just think about which one to use. One, for example, was a totally different and new way of, like in cars, sometimes you have feedback systems that that warn you when the car is in your blind spot and you actually start to move the wheel over. That was like a totally different system of how to do this. Then there were new ways, huge problem, new ways of measuring corrosion at critical parts in oil in oil production. Okay, there were new fabrics, new materials for clothing that have different properties that have not been covered before. There have been a novel way of doing laser engraving methods for decorating metal objects like your power book, and then you find out that maybe this way could not be used for what you thought of because it's too expensive, but maybe you find out that it could be actually useful for something else that you have never thought of before because you didn't know that those kind of properties were a problem. Okay. Let's see other things. So a lot of like younger students tend to start with something a little bit closer to their minds. I mean, if it's PhD students, they tend to start with something that's a little bit closer to the research. Like, for example, we had all sorts of new battery types, okay, for high capacity storage in changing energy grids. We had, in the past, we had things like new scaffoldings for improving the mechanics of liver transplants. Okay, we had on the material side new material for the liner within a nuclear power plant. We had a new language learning software which went much beyond the app level, which looked a lot into educational and we had a lot of child development things, all sorts of things.
Okay, what
Does
I
that help?
yeah, I hope it is helpful. Okay, so once again, I think majority of you came into this course with their ideas. And I suggest that you get together with your team and each of you present the idea to the team, and then you as a team decide which three you want to submit to us. If you don't want to submit any of those, then maybe you can come up with a new one. I don't think you should overcomplicate this idea selection thing, because as Andreas pointed out, there might be no like a perfect idea. It's more about just refining
That's
your
right.
thinking. So don't get crazy about the idea
You
thing.
don't know in the beginning. You
We
cannot know in the
don't have to.
beginning.
You're not forced to invent something for this course.
Exactly,
You
because
will
you
invent
have to do the
something.
work. You have to do the work to find out.
Yeah. So and the question is, when next week
No.
we have a
Oh, and also,
go ahead.
well, you should have them in the system. You should enter them like sort of Monday, Tuesday, before we talk on Wednesday. It doesn't have to be 11. Just give us a couple of paragraphs that help us. You look to us for, you can explain it to us further. But I'm gonna. I have a message about a slow connection here, so I'm gonna turn off my webcam for the moment. I hope that's okay. Stop sharing. Okay. So, can you
Um,
hear me okay?
yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah.
Еще раз, значит,
So,
мне кажется, мы уже это обсуждали, но последний
so
раз.
the so I just stopped sharing the webcam because apparently there was a bit of yeah. So just give us. We can have and read. Doesn't have to be very elaborate, okay? But it's going to be easier for us to need to understand thinking, right? So it's going to be easier if you write a couple of paragraphs about it to explain further. Again, the guideline should be that you have enough room, enough uncertainty in all the three dimensions of technology, market, and implementation. And if you watch the lectures in this first week, you will know roughly what that means. You can start your innovation from absolutely anything in technology, market, or implementation. Like for example, you can say, oh, you know, I know technically this sort of stuff because I'm an engineer, and I always thought if I do it this way, then this could be like, you know, a lot better because, you know, I don't know, moving heavy objects around a construction site would work much better if I did it this way, okay? That would be starting in the technology side. I'm just using that example because I have a construction site in front of the window here. But look around you, or you say like, oh, market application, you can start on the market side. You can think about the consumer, think about, it doesn't have to be a consumer, it can be somebody in industry. Oh, you know, like in my job, I have come across, you know, people that said, you know, like, I wish that was complicated. I wish, you know, I would want to have this. You start with one desires. There may or may not be a way of solving this, okay, it efficiently. What you have to find out. That's the innovation process. But start with something where you think there's a need or a desire of people, okay? Or you can start in implementation, and implementation is a large category. In you know, again, I'm not going to explain it now because, you know, the lectures and everything do that. But all of manufacturing costs, all of corporate competition, all of your business model, all of your supply chain, all of law, all of not just patent law, all of law, okay? That fall. For example, if you for the
Andreas, we have an
if you have an idea, I mean, a past idea was. Hello?
we haven't heard you for last 2 minutes.
Okay, so there was a bandwidth problem?
Yes, there was a bandwidth problem. I think we're back now.
Okay.
So I think at this moment,
Okay, so let me
I think at this point, I think we're just going into circles. I think.
yeah. So the point I was making is that you can start from anything in technology, market, or implementation. You don't have to come up with a new technology.
Okay,
You
so
can start with an unmet need by people. You can start with all sorts of implementation problems. Go.
I'm getting all of your questions. Andreas, I'm gonna switch to Russian for a second. Okay? Andreas?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I'm gonna mute you for a second.
Yes.
Так, еще, значит, возвращаемся опять к истокам. Значит, я так понимаю, что часть из вас не получила списки с командами и их контактами. Мы сегодня еще раз разошлем все командные списки и контакты. Если вы хотите поменять команду, дайте мне об этом знать. Мы вас просим связаться со своей командой и до понедельника выбрать 3 идеи от команды, которые вы хотите претендовать в среду. В среду в какой-то момент между 4 и 8 по Москве, московскому времени, мы будем работать с каждой командой индивидуально. Если у вас есть еще какие-то вопросы, пишите мне на адрес. Я не могу отвечать всем одновременно, но я постараюсь как максимально быстро отвечать. Спасибо. I'm done. I think we
Okay.
can just open it for if anyone has any more questions. But I think overall we have a pretty
Yes.
clear understanding of what is going on.
Okay. Any questions?
I think all the questions we have are logistical questions. So
Okay.
yeah, I think you are off the hook. I can just answer some of the questions people might have.
Okay.
Thank you, Andreas.
Okay. So I'm signing off.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And again, welcome. And I think this will be, a wonderful experience for all, and glad to have you on board. Okay. Bye.
Был задан вопрос, когда будет известно время взаимодействия в среду. Я думаю, что в понедельник, когда вы пришлете свои идеи, мы пошлем вам время. Если у вас есть предпочтение по времени, пожалуйста, можете послать нам. Хорошо? Так, если у вас есть еще какие-то вопросы, пишите мне, пожалуйста, уже просто в личку. Ладно? Я постараюсь вам максимально быстро ответить. Еще раз просьба, если у вас есть ко мне вопросы, пожалуйста, не подразумевайте, что я запомнила здесь все вопросы. Шлите мне их на e-mail. Все, спасибо, всего хорошего, до свидания.